Hello everybody and welcome back to Post ReaperCon Wappelville. We're going to try and do another live session for you tonight. And this is we're gonna go back to basing. We did quite a bit of that during ReaperCon, and we've got ourselves, this is from Song of Ice and Fire. This is actually a unit of infantry now. You've been seeing an awful lot of these guys. So I think I've done 4 units of these. I know we've painted actually, this is one of the first units that we painted on the channel right here. And these are your Dothraki Horsemen. And you can see the really nifty sort of cracked earth effect we have going here. We've got our tree bark over here, some skulls, other random things. And then, of course, we painted all the horses and the riders in oils. We're going to do the same on these Unsullied guys, but for now, what we want to do is just show you how you get from, something like this here to something like this here. And we're going to have to review this a bunch of times as people come in. Like the Baron comes in, how are you doing? Sorry there wasn't a little more warning about this. Originally I wasn't going to be doing this today, but it's already been kind of a weird week, so we're starting up another one today, and we're doing basing because people seem to like what happened with the basing last time around. We've got our unit of Unsullied, and how are you doing? Of course. We've got ourselves some bark. We have ourselves some earth texture here. That's your Vallejo earth texture. We've got, speaking earth, we got this Agrelian earth, crackle stuff from GW. And then we've got this Green Stuff World crackle paint. We're also going to have some of our Elmer's glue out here, some of our Cheapmo super glue. We even have scraps of bulletin board cork. And once again, we are going to take this here movement tray, and we are going to make it look a wee bit more like this. So you'll be seeing all of these trays kind of over and over again. Now we've got a couple of these guys that have been cut off their bases. You see this guy's even got a little pin hole in his foot. On some bases where you see them on all of the scoping and everything, like the Baratheons, every single guy had to get chopped off the base. That wasn't super fun. Here I've got 4 of them already cut off, plus a little extra guy here, because taking the place of one of your officers or something like that. We got Armored Wolf and Snow Treasure. How are you doing? So we're just doing some basing tonight. And Snow Treasure, I think you've seen the Dothraki here plenty of times. Well, we've got ourselves some more of our Targaryens. They need a similar style basing, and we are going to do that. We've got our tree bark handy. So I don't know if you have seen last Monday's episode. That's where we're basing all of those Reaper figures. We also have our, and I'm just going to call these, oh, that's good, Snow Treasure. I'm glad you did, because, well, this is kind of all about the basing. I'm just going to call these Jeweler's blocks. I know people call them something else, but a jeweler introduced me to these. See all those cut marks and those holes in there? Well, if you want to slice a miniature off of a base, I'm just going to throw these guys over here for right now. Say you want your standard bearer to be on something that's a little bit more high. Oh, well, look, we got Scooter in the house too. Oh, did Al Capone sneak in here too? I didn't see that. Oh, there's Al. How you doing, Al? Let's see, I'm doing good. Still working on learning the oils. Can't seem to make them smooth. Oh, that's gonna, Snow Treasure, that just kind of takes a little bit of practice there. Definitely be easy on yourself. It does take some getting used to, especially when you've really never used the oils before. We got Christy Lids in the house. How are you doing? So instead of doing this or whatever, razor saw right here, Jeweler's blocks. You hold your miniature. You get your razor saw going. Because you saw all those figures that, remember, we were cutting them off the broccoli bases, right? Well, we got to cut this guy off of here. We also don't want to be cutting us. So you can see we just kind of do this nice and easy, nothing crazy. And there's one foot already separated from the base. We just got to do this other foot here. Now these are, I don't want to say bones plastic, but they're kind of on the next stage from that. So he is now successfully removed from the base. Now let's get ourselves some kind of an X-Acto knife here before we forget. There's usually a little bit of residue left over on the base. That's gone. Sanding sticks. Let me see. Yep, still very fine. Yeah, it does take a little bit of getting used to. And like we've been you've heard me say over and over again, you'll do stuff a month from now that you weren't doing now, and you'll do stuff 2 months from now that you weren't doing a month from now. 3 months from now, it'll all be different, just because you will learn things along the way, which is very cool. So you can see this is where you had your mold lines. Again, sanding stick, you just get these in a pack. There's all kinds of different, like this. So this is a much softer grit than this one. So, you know, you start out with one, then you end with another, and you can see it's a little less, so it's a little bit less white there. That is another way you can tell that you got a little bit of a gentler grit. Now, we use this so that we didn't slice ourselves. Let's use this so that we don't get this pin vise stuck in our hands, which that used to happen all the time before the jeweler's block. So here, miniature on the jeweler's block, in goes the pin vise. We're just going to give ourselves a little bit of a hole. It doesn't have to be anything tremendous. So that hole is drilled. He is ready to go. I'm going to just set him up over here. Now we're going to get some of these things off to the side because we don't really need those quite so much anymore. At least not for the time being. You can see now why we have the craft brushes, which have all the glue and all the other kind of fun paste inside of them. Actually, we were painting with this. Just what the heck were we painting with this thing? We were painting something with that just not too long ago. Oh, hey, how are you doing? Now, I think you guys have seen the finished dark sword. Oh, no, wait a minute. Let me grab this because you haven't seen this yet. Haha, I knew there was something I was forgetting. Here, let's show you this because I finished this off in a video last night. It was for the Patreon page. So, boom, there we go. Here, let's get a little bit of focus on that now. Oh, hey, Fire Dragon. And Zuxi, how are you doing? Oh, and Trash is in the house, too. Look at this. We have all... The gang is all coming in here. Let's see. Who else? Oh, Nessie. So, Nessie, I just saw your Legion guy that you posted earlier today. So, yeah, there's some Song of Ice and Fire for you today. But... Oh, and hey, Deadhead, how you doing? Ah, that's good. Yeah, so this was the latest Patreon video that I just put up, oh gosh, this afternoon. We were painting the dragon, and then we put these guys on the base. We threw some extra rocks around here. We got our some extra little tufts in there. We put a little bit more ground cover on him. You can see all the water effects have been cured. His big old wings. So this one now is finished. Let's see. Oh, hey, Beef. Well, there you go. Huh? How's about that? So, Zuxi, how are you doing? Now, we just have to find a safe place to station that for right now. Let's get this back over here. So, I don't think we're really going to need a razor saw, so that's also going to go out of the way. And we've got ourselves some tree bark here. Now, because these guys are a wee bit smaller than our horsies, we don't really need such large pieces of tree bark. That's why we kind of save some of our scraps here. We have some of our smaller bits. We also have some pieces like this one right here. Now, what we're also going to do is we have to position these guys somewhere. And we got to position these guys somewhat in the rows that they belong. Oh, thanks, Aussie. Yeah, that was the intensity inks. I think I've got a couple of them. Where are they sitting? Yeah, we use these two. And it was really fun mixing those with the Reaper Clear and Liners. Let me see. Darth, hey, how are you doing? Let's see. How do you separate metal minis from their... it's the exact same. I don't know if you saw Darth Jameson. That is what we just did. We just sliced it off the broccoli base. Actually, here's another one. So this was sitting on one of those metal broccoli bases. And you just saw me do the thing with the razor saw, right? Well, that's what I did here. I cut off both of her feet from the metal. It was a metal rock. I wanted her to be on a metal tree, or not a metal tree, a sculpted tree here. So I cut off each foot. I drilled a hole in there, just like what we did to this guy. So hopefully that answers the question. Let me see. What do we got here? I think we're all good on that chat. So yeah, we did this the same way. Now, of course, you can watch Monday's video, where last Monday, not this Monday, but last Monday, where we're doing all this basing stuff. And that's where we were hiding things like broccoli bases, all kinds of fun stuff. We were cutting them off of those broccoli bases. Let me see if I can find the base that she was sitting on here. Maybe I won't... I don't know where that chunk of metal is, sitting around here somewhere. But in any case, we chopped her off of that. Let's see. Oh, hey, Redmond, how are you doing? I'm recovering more than... Yeah, the voice, well...
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Thank you so much for the follow. La Place pour jour. La Place pour jour. I'll just say La Place. It'll be easier if you don't mind. Let's just get these guys set out here. Now you do have to, you don't have to rank these guys up, not like the old Warhammer days, right? But it's sort of close to that. Because there's only, hey Nessie, is it 3 poses or 4? It's four guys, 3 poses, right? Typical infantry unit. So there's our unit. We'll just kind of shove these guys off to the side a little bit. Now, the movement trait is going to, again, get covered just the same way this one is. Spot to play if you want. Okay, I will take that. That is fine. And thanks so much for doing the follow thing. Let's see, I'm doing, well, Luke's APS stuff came in, so I need to put them in the containers. Yeah, I have a Blick order that was supposed to show up tomorrow. It's now going to be Saturday with those new brushes. Let's see, I got the hair done on my Ranger. I'm just waiting for other oils to coat the leather bits. Okay. Here, I'm going to actually get my volume a wee bit louder here too. And let's see, what should it be? I just want to make sure I get that one right. Spot to play. Okay. I think we're all good now. Here, let's put our horsies back over. Oh, and by the way, guys, you haven't seen this yet. So I just took a wooden spool. This is from, what is that, from Hobby Lobby. I took some MDF bases. That's actually one of our Sculpey columns right there. So now she is on a plinth here. So that's a little bit easier. And I just did render the first half of the video where we were painting her. There will be a second half too. And I think we're all good on that. I'm going to turn up the brightness just a little bit here for you guys. So we have to fill in these areas plus these areas. Right now the tree bark, you can see how that breaks nice and easy. You can see how a piece like that is pretty much about the size of one of our bases. I'm going to put this over here real quick. You can see how that's a little bit uneven right there. Oh, hey, Static Overdrive, how are you doing? So a couple things we can do here. We want to level that out just a little bit here. So we can do it this way, or you could also take those sanding sticks we were talking about. You can do a little bit of sand. It's wood after all. I mean, it's a sanding stick and it's a piece of wood. So you can do this, sort of file those edges down a little bit. You stick a little bit of glue on here. That's your super glue. And I actually do throw a little bit of the... I wish I had wood glue. That's kind of my favorite, but I just keep forgetting to order that on Amazon. We're just going to put that right here. Now you want your guy to be standing on there, right? So he's going to be standing right about like this. See that little hole that's drilled in his foot there? Let's see. Well, I'm glad you're doing okay there, Static Overdrive. Pins. It's just a... It's pretty simple. It's nothing more. If I can get these out of here. Paper clips. However, you do want to match the paper clips to your pin vise, because slight differences here can mean a difference between a miniature that spins or a miniature that doesn't want to get down in there. So again, paper clips, we're just going to put those over here so we've got them. Now we're just going to cut ourselves a little pin for this guy. Like this. Get a little bit of glue in here. And then I do like this really thin, cheap, nasty glue because it actually does get down into that little hole. Push our pin in there. Now he's got a little bit of a pin. And then we have to just position him on here. And I can see that I'm going to actually have to drill a hole. Sometimes the tree bark is soft enough where you can just press right through it. And other times you have to just drill a hole. And you're just going to have to forgive my hand there. So this is another reason why I like the jeweler's block instead of drilling through my table or drooling through my table. Now I've got a hole in the block instead of in me or the table. We'll just get him set down here. And in no time at all, we've got him on a nice little piece of tree bark. Let's set him off to the side because again, he's one of those extra ones. Some the infantry units sometimes come with 13 guys because there's an officer or basically some kind of a champion / leader, whatever. So here is another one of our guys here. Now he's kind of a boss there. Maybe we try and find him something that's a little bit more elaborate to stand on here. Sometimes the bark breaks really easily. Sometimes it doesn't really break at all. You can see what we've got there. Another one of these taller pieces. Again, on the bottom, it's not level. What I can do is just take my knife here and just very gently break away some of that other chunk of bark, and now it's pretty flat. We can make it more flat like this. Oh, hey, Lord Dave, how are you doing? Yeah, well, congratulations on the Derby win. I forgot that they were still even doing that. I forgot they moved it to September, so congratulations on that, too. All right, we've got that. We can glue in place. Let's see. Trash says you don't want to drool through your table. I guess maybe if I had a lot of extra stream sauce or something like that, I might end up drooling at a certain point. I think Kathy's about to start watching Mike Disney's, his Pictionary. So there's again, some super glue. I don't think I really need the wood glue on this one because that's pretty darn flat. That's going to be nice and flat. Let's see where he might go. He's going to go right in here. So there's a nice little trench for him to go. We need to put a little hole in his foot there as we got the Roy experience in the house. How are you doing? I'm going to zoom in one level here so you can there we go. You can see that a little bit easier. again, these are rubber blocks, somewhere between $5 and $7 on Amazon. There's also a different size block. Look at all the chop marks in this thing. Look at all the slice marks in that. That could be my hand, my table, whatever. Look at this thing. It's torn apart. That's years of slicing and cutting. Let's see. Figures they'd move it to ReaperCon. I had to miss part of Saturday. I thought so. All right, cool. Thanks, Al. Hopefully we have a whole unit base for it. Oh, and for folks that are new, that have just come in here. So there is the dragon, because you saw me working on these two guys, right, during ReaperCon. So there is your dragon painted up in place. We did this on a Patreon video that we just put up earlier today. So that diorama is complete. So thanks so much, Roy, for the sub. Here, let's get the Pelias is in place. He's like, there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do. He's like, man, you're small. Oh, well. And he goes away, too. Let's get Mr. Champ here. So I believe, I was just looking at the thing. Let's see, what is it? They can have a free attack action or something like that. Which sounds like not a lot, but yeah, free attack action. Oh, and I think the unit can't gain condition tokens or something like that. Now, of course, Nessie knows more about that than I do. I have the card somewhere. Not quite sure what I did with it. It's around. All right, there's going to be our little pin that's going to go in there. We'll take our pin or our little pliers here, get that shoved in there. And he is going to go this way, right here. Now sometimes you have to actually bend the pin a little bit. So we are going to actually do that here. We're just going to bend that pin slightly. Then we're going to get this thing glued. Like so. So there's your champ. Let's leave him where he goes. Right over here. Now again, these things, pretty much only the Baratheons, you have to rank them up a certain way because otherwise they don't fit. You can see most of the time that there's plenty of space in between these guys, so ranking up is really more decorative than anything else. These are the Unsullied Nessie. Let's see, the free attack is kind of... Oh, yeah, Dave. Let's see, I started watching part of that. That dragon is awesome, but the base is my... Well, thanks, Dave. And it was just so insane that it was made out of pink foam, right? It was just made out of just pink foam and junk. That's all it was made out of. That's all it took. Now, we might also do some other basing here, too. It depends on how fast we go through this. I've got some Corvus Cabal that I might put on Sculpey. So he's got the hole in his foot. Now, this one, maybe not quite so tall. Maybe not quite so tall. Maybe not quite so huge either. I'm just curious. I'm just curious to see what we get out of this. Now, that would be really, really neat, except he's standing right next to the other guy. So I think that's going to go over here. Sometimes you find a piece of bark or whatever, and you say, ooh, that would actually be better on, well, maybe this guy instead. Now this, we don't need something quite this tall, I would say. So we can just kind of chip some of this away. Now it's not quite so tall. But is it gonna match his footprint? And that's all. Yeah, it just does match his footprint. Let me see. Started watching part of that. Let's see, which one are these? I'm working on that front with him. Let's see, what did Trash ask? You should just make an Amazon referral link. Oh, yeah, Trash. There has not been time for anything else. There has been zero break since ReaperCon. I've just been assembling figures, moving stuff around, making videos, so there has been zero time for anything, actually. Otherwise, I definitely would have done that. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of time, unfortunately. Because all of the stuff that got set aside for ReaperCon, well, all of that all has to get caught up on. Well, we also want to do the merch thing too, Trash. Let's see, where's the rest of my little base go here? Actually, I'm going to use a different piece here. Sometimes you just keep breaking this bark and you just see what you come up with. This is actually, that's a better piece. Because it's going to fit next to the, yeah, this is a better piece right here. Okay. And it is nice and flat on the bottom. Just flatten it out a little bit more. Let's see. I got beat by them last Saturday. And, yeah, Trash, well, now it seems like, let's see, Reaper was using T-Fury and they were doing stickers because this year at ReaperCon I was going to have Book of Wappel stickers. And I think I had printed 2 of them. But if you can have stickers made and they would ship them, then I'm thinking I would I'd do something like that. So I don't know if I have to go through T-Fury or does the same merch that whatchamacallit that you get through, like, say, Streamlabs or whatever, or through Twitch itself, do they sell stuff other than just mugs and shirts? I guess that's the question. Because I researched that a long time ago, and by a long time ago, I mean like December of last year and January of this year. Obviously, there hasn't been any time to screw around with that since. Now, let's see, is this gonna... Okay, that should work out pretty well there. So here's Mr. Banner. Let's get him in place here. Okay, and just like our other guy, we are going to have to that glue settle up. But now he's all good. And we're going to hit the next one. Now this one in the middle. See if we can find again, another piece of bark for him. That's going to be a little bit on the large size right there. What about this piece? Kind of looks like he's just walking right along that the spine of that. I'm going to level this out again. Maybe crack some of that front piece away. See if we can have him quite literally just walking along this thing. I think we can. Here's some of our glue again. We'll just put a little dot of our Elmer's glue here. Sort of acts like a catalyst and makes that dry just a bit faster. Let's get this in his foot here. So this is sort of the mundane, boring part. I know this is nothing thrilling necessarily visually like a painting exercise is, but if you want to have bases that are more than just some rocks and some static grass, it takes a little bit more of an effort and a little bit more, just a little bit more time. Let's get this drilled in here too. Let's get some super glue on his foot. And hopefully he will stick in here. Just like so. Let's get that extra piece out of there. Now sometimes you might build up. Here, let's build up a little bit more on the other side of this. Another piece of bark over here. And don't be shy about combining glue, one glue with another type of glue. Again, they just kind of form a little bit of a catalyst for each other. Go with some glue here and here. What is he? Oh, he goes right there. Okay. You just stay there. Yeah, and now he is a little bit more stable. You see, we gave him a little bit of time to sit there. All right. We've got, hey, Ramir. Let's see. Dibs on the first one true brush T. That's, we got to do that one. And we also have to do a spell brush shirt. We have to do that for sure. Let me see. Mr. Zod, let's see. What Patreon level is the widest variety of that's going to be your army painter there, Mr. Zod. Because that gets you all of them. Quite literally, every tutorial that I've ever made over the last 7 years, that's yours with the army painter pledge level. So that is the one that I would recommend if you're looking to have the widest variety and everything. Oh, and also, like what we're doing here with this basing, that is the first episode of every series. So let's just show you. So here's your Sisters of Battle, right? Well, the first episode of that was just the basing. Then the next episode was a cower test figure. Let's move on. I'm going to just find my Cipher Lords here because that's the easiest way to show you. So this is typically episode 1 of every series. We take you through the basing process. Episode 2 is your cower test figure. And then episode 3, well, then it starts getting messy because then we start getting right into the rest of the unit. Yeah, Dr. Feegood, how are you doing? Well, it's something that I've been trying to work on for months, but with all of the craziness here, I just had to kind of set that aside. Now, on the plus side, it does mean that we've had months to go, oh, yeah, this would be a really nifty idea for merch. Whereas other ideas that, yeah, okay, this would be all right. Now we've come up with ideas that, oh, this would actually be really neat instead of just doing something to do something. Because I didn't just want to say, oh, here's just a shirt with a name on it. I was hoping to do something a little bit more interesting than that. And I think now we've got ourselves some ideas for that. Let's see. Oh, and there's your link. There's your link, Mr. Zod. Now, I don't think I ever asked, but where do you get your tree bark? So, Nessie, some of it I just find. Now, I'm going to be finding less of it because some of the trees that I was getting it from were just cut down. This is pine bark. It's not exactly like mulch, but if you go to something like a Home Depot or one of those type of places, you might be able to find yourself some mulch there, or even some pine bark too. It's a pretty common sort of thing. Let me see. Oh, definitely, yes, it's got to be. Well, actually, now we're doing chapter 33. We're doing the most recent chapter. Oh, thanks, Lord Dave. Oh, Mr. Zod, it includes everything because all of those, basically, if 15 is more than 10, you get everything in the 10, that sort of deal right there. Because all of those Dark Sword episodes, like, let's say this one here, so a lot of the foliage stuff that's done in here, well, that is going to be happening. Where's most of my, here we go. You're going to be seeing a lot of that foliage here. This is another army painting series. So you're going to see a lot of this foliage on these bases. Some of the water effects that I do on the Dark Sword videos, you'll see, because here, in some ways, it's easier to absorb on one base. Then, you watch this, then we take what we did on one base, and we do it on a whole bunch of bases. So it's a little bit easier to absorb, maybe seeing it both ways through just the Dark Sword prism, and also, now this one I want to save Because look at that nifty little notch right in there. That one, that's going to get saved. We're going to put that one aside. Now here, we got something that's interesting. We have a little bit of a shelf that's kind of building up there. Let's see how fragile that is. Oh, look at this, folks. We got a Drew in the house. Oh, hey, Drew. So, folks, later on tonight, because it's a Thirsty Thursday, what would you say, Drew, in about 2 or 3 hours you're going to be starting up your next stream tonight? Finishing off the King of Malefica? At least I know that was your original plan, I think, was to try and get that thing out of the way tonight. Let's see. New York City doesn't have pine. Nessie, I think you should be able to buy some, what would you say, some of that mulch or whatever. You know, because it's a tumultuous time we live in. And look at this. See where this is perfect? Because we welcome in pun expected. See what I just did there? Pun expected, do a pun. Look at that. Am I going to have to come up with a pun every time pun expected comes into the room here? Oh, thanks, Matt. I appreciate that. Now, let's see. I think there, oh, there you go. So well, it's both. It's a rubber block and it's called a jeweler's rubber block. So we both win. Everybody wins. Going for the finish line tonight. Well, hopefully I will be able to join you later. I know I still have to film another video tonight or two. So I will try and join you as long as I can. So there's our pin in place. So many teeth. Oh, geez, Mr. Zod, you wouldn't believe how similar things are, but how completely different things are. Because, well, you'll certainly recognize these. They're still around. But obviously, I wasn't doing the oils before. We didn't have things like the intensity inks, the contrast paints. I mean, heck, you didn't even have stuff like this. You didn't have guys like this. Now, some things, yeah, are they the same? Some things are kind of the same. Well, we're still doing shaded base coat. And we're still obviously doing glazing. Heck, we're still using the Sculpey. I think you recognize the cipher, well, that whole idea of the Sculpey on top of the cork from the old painting pyramid videos. It's interesting how it's just kind of changed and how it's in some ways stayed the same. Now, let's get ourselves a hole drilled in this right here. Now, we're doing these, but we also we have to add some stuff to our bases that don't have anything. All right, there we go. We'll just glue him in place. So glue this foot, glue that foot, glue that into that. Set him over here so that it has a chance to dry. Back to this guy over here. We're going to bend his... Here, let's get this little pin out of the way. So we're going to bend this pin backwards just a bit so that he stands up, or so that both feet stay attached to the base, like so. You go over here. So all of these guys that we've cut off the bases, now they have something to stand on. However, we got these guys, and we still have this. Let's see, hand cramping when painting, tired of rubbing off the paint. Check out the war grips. Geez, do we have ourselves a bot? Wow, we had like no bots during all of ReaperCon. Which is crazy. You'd think that would have been the time for bots. Now here we got to figure, okay, there's only so much this we can shove in between their feet. We're just going to break up a few pieces of bark here. And we're just literally going to pop this in between his feet. We're just going to glue this here. And then we just leave it. That's it. Just glue it and leave it. Not every single one of these guys is going to get a piece of bark on it because we also want to do this cracked earth stuff here. So we want to leave enough open space to be able to do some of that cracked earth. Oh, hey, TJ, how are you doing? Let me see. You had one during the weird camera malfunction. May have even caused it. Oh, okay. That's interesting. I'll have to go back and watch that one and see if a bot shows up. So, TJ, how are you doing? Yeah, the oils, they are addictive, aren't they? Because you can just do so much. Oh, look at this. That's kind of a nice little rock here. Let's just keep things simple. We're just going to glue that on here. Doesn't always have to be something massive. Yeah, just make sure we've got that position in a decent spot. We got ourselves Cheers. And he's going to grab that one. He's going to grab it. Thanks so much, Papa Wood. Thanks for explaining things every stream. It really helps the new people. Well, I do hope that it's not too, what would you say, too much to absorb. And if you need to ask, if you need to say, hey, look, could you just show me that again? It's not such a horrible thing because, well, like you say, someone who is new that's come in or is not so familiar with it, it kind of helps them out. Now, this is a nifty little piece right here. Yeah, and this, I do think, well, and you know that some of the vehicles would be really neat to try. Let's see what this, I have to start thinking about all of these open spaces here too. Now we've got this guy. This one actually broke off of another piece. What I'm going to do is just shave that guy down a little bit here. Oh, look at how that fits right there. That's a nice little piece for that. And I think we've got ourselves another nice little piece that can go. And I'm not going to just put all of these pieces in these open spots here. I'm going to just leave, again, some spots I want to leave open. I also have to think about some of the other bases that are standing around them. Again, not every base needs a ton of stuff on it. I got lots of nifty little pieces like that. Now, here's another little thing. So now that he, I think, has had a chance to try it. So we see like this. Well, that piece can't go there, but it can go over here. Let's get these two guys out here. Actually, no, it can't go over there, so it's going to go over here. So you can see we have to constantly be kind of watching what's going on here, especially when we've got... So he has just enough room to clear this because you've got that, see that little bit of a curve cutting into that piece? This should fit right in there. Now these guys, I'm actually not really going to put much of anything on there. I'm just going to let that be more crackle paste than anything else. Let me see. I'm just going to... Oh, hey, Lady Dire Doggo. Let's see. I'm looking here. Just wanted to say that although I'm still currently much too intimidated by oils, I love how approachable you explain everything. Oh, definitely, Lady Dire. It's definitely give yourself what would you say, a little bit of time to just kind of get prepped for it. And I have lots of videos where I'm using stuff like, say, the contrast paints mixed with these, and sometimes that kind of gets your head sort of in that mindset for doing something like the oils. Now that just hangs off a little too much. That's here's a good piece. Do I do that? Yeah, I'm going to glue this one right here. I'll just put the glue on there right now. Let me see. I thought the same exact thing a few months ago, and I decided to give it a shot. Now, it's a different animal, a little difficult to unthink. That is a little bit like you, like what you're saying there. Oh, where's my... here we go. So here, oh, actually this is a little bit better. I just got these off of Amazon right here, so you can see there's a couple different sizes. This is for the cavalry. See that smaller size there? That is what I use for the infantry. Now I also have a collection of other types of magnets right here, but I just got these off of Amazon. I think there might be 100 in here, and it just off of Amazon. It should be no problem to find those. Maybe we can even, magnetize one of the units so you can see how that looks. All right, you know what? He's gonna have nothing on his base. He's gonna be free of stuff. Oh, thank you so much for the sub. Oh, Bill Robertson is doing his thing again. Bill Robertson. He says they can't. He said, man, these guys just come out of nowhere. He says, that is mine. That is all mine. Thanks so much, Bill. That is appreciated. All right, so here, good thing our tree bark is easy to manipulate. There we go. So we can go right in there. We've got a couple of these guys now. Let's start to fill in a couple of more areas here with stuff. Just a few areas here. As much as I'm not going to have anything go over there. I am going to have something over here. It's just a little tiny nothing piece. It literally is practically nothing. Let me see. Is it you get third mini, you get that moment. That's sometimes you just never quite know, and maybe it's just the right miniature. Maybe that was just the right one to try and paint, and it just worked out. Let me see. Let's see, Lord Dave, your spawner mate. Still painting too thick. Hard to figure out how to balance paint thickness and proper coverage when painting over old, less well-primed minis. Well, actually, where the heck did they go? Here we go. So, these guys here, because the airbrush is being such a colossal pain. I don't know if it's because the primer is just too old to go through the airbrush anymore, but I'm just going to be doing the same brush on primer with these guys. And the idea is we're going to try some glazing with the oils. We'll still be doing the opaque stuff, but instead of doing the rough prep glaze, because look at these guys. There's no way we can do our usual prep glaze on something like this. We'll shred this thing to pieces. We'll just rip it apart. So we're going to try to do some more targeted glazes, like super targeted. Remember the one that we did, or what was the, it wasn't that, oh, it was the, actually it was on him. I don't know if you guys remember the episode we did on him right there, where we did this much more targeted glazes. Well, these guys right here, these are going to be super targeted glazes, like ultra targeted. Okay. Do we need any more little pieces on? Yeah, let's just see if we can't get a couple more pieces of bark onto this. There's a nice piece. So it's flat on this side. And this side has a little bit of texture on it. It's just perfect, and it's going to go, well, at least I hope it's going to fit right there. And it does. See how that fits right in there? Got myself another little triangle piece here. We'll go this way with it. I don't know, I kind of like having these little triangle pieces. Not sure why, I just do. Do I feel like any more? Maybe something on the back over here. One more back here. Just little bits and bobs that I can work with. Okay. So now we've got basically our bark in position. We got guys stuck on those bases, just like him. But there's more we wanted to do with this, right? We wanted to have all that fun crackle paste and everything else going on. And you can see just how much crackle paste and stuff there is. Ironically, we start with something that's not crackle paint. So let's get these tools off to the side here, just out of the way. remember we've got brushes like this the one true brush. Look at how much actually I was painting that dragon with this brush. I was painting with this brush less than 24 hours ago. I was painting with that. Oh, by the way, we also have ourselves a little bit of rocks and gravel. So this is the Arid Earth base ready from Luke's APS. We're going to have this out here too. Actually, I'm going to just throw this over here just so I got it. Let's get some of this stuff out of our way because we need some flat space for this. We're going to really start with the earth texture over again. This is from Vallejo. There are several different kinds. It's just like the Cylons. There are many copies, but there's also different models. Let me see. Oh, and there's your link to, there's Luke's APS in Europe, and in the US, that would be Footsore North America. Now, if you, well, you can, actually, I've been jonesing for hummus. I've been jonesing for the hummus. And look, and you can win half a mil. You can win half a mil too. So we've got that. Let's make sure now we've got some focus for you here. That's a little better. I'm going to grab myself just a little bit of a sort of a mini palette here. Something like that. And this is a brand spanking new jar. I mean, it's filled to the brim, as you can see. So let's get some of this stuff out here. And what was it? Oh, people kept asking, what was the peanut butter? Remember? Oh, so Bill, yeah, this is not as tasty as the peanut butter that was in the peanut butter square, which are now officially gone. The last one, the last morsel of that was consumed today. So I think the time of sadness and starvation begins. That should pretty much do it. Now let's get this thing closed up here. Now this guy, he's not going to need a whole bunch of that. Some of these are going to need a bunch. Some of them will need hardly any. Now some of these things like the red oxide paste, that is going to stain the heck out of everything. This stuff, also remember this you can combine with the glue. The red oxide paste and some of the other ones, they hate it when you mix glue in there with it. Now the one thing I don't really like is this edge over here. So see this little edge here? That just kind of looks like, well, I took my X-Acto knife and cut it. So we give it a different texture. Or if, say, the foot is not exactly standing on there perfectly level, we'll just add a little bit of this. So see, that's not so hard. And we're going to set these, once we do this, we're going to set them aside. This one, again, he just needs some filler here. Not only does it make it look like there's not just some kind of open flying edge there, but it's going to give a little bit more stability to this. We can even throw a little texture over the top here. It's not going to take a whole bunch on some of these other bases. It'll just take some more. Now we can also do something like this where the sand or whatever has kind of blown up this way. Thank you so much for the follow. Apex. I'm just going to go with Apex because that will be easier for me to say. So hopefully you don't mind when the name is truncated somewhat. Now think of this a little bit like the liquid text heavy gel. See how it's kind of, I just keep using the word sculptural because you can quite literally sculpt with this stuff. Now keep in mind we still have crackle paint to add to this, and crackle paint likes to have something to stick to. Plastic bases are not what it likes to stick to. It likes to stick to something like that has an actual texture to it. Oh, speaking of water effects here, so the folks that were watching that last day of ReaperCon there, You can see there's a little bit of that blue in there. Remember we were working with this water here. Look at all the splashes on that. So this was last Monday's episode here. Let me see. Sophie calls it peanut butter every time we base miniatures. It also could look like hummus too. And there are some hummuses that are almost this color here. Let's see. Is that scale 75 fantasy and games peanut butter? Yeah, actually, I don't have any scale 75 paints here. I don't have any. There's none to taste. Not that we've ever. Now I've almost tasted stuff like this because it's been on my hands and I didn't realize it. So that would be more of an accidental taste test, I guess you could say. TJ, everything is all the same. It's always the main camera, at least for now, is the Logitech C920. It's actually in the same spot that it always is too. Believe it or not, it's in the same spot. Now the palette cam that's over here, it's still the IPVO document camera or presentation camera. Something you'd use in a classroom or an office. It's a very old one, but it's been a very reliable one for, my goodness, several years now. At least, I want to say 5 years or something like that. Maybe longer. It's been around a while. So we're just giving ourselves our just a little bit texture paste on that base because we're going to do more with the crackle paste there. We're going to drop in some. So I think we actually might be able to get to those, our bird brains over there. We might just be able to get to those guys. Again, I wasn't sure if I would be basing, and I wasn't sure I was going to be doing all. Actually, originally today I wasn't going to be doing any kind of broadcasting. But just with situations and stuff, I thought I'll just give it a shot today. Because I'm not quite sure for Saturday. So we'll fill this in. And we just move along the unit. Now again, this guy has some options here because there's no stuff on him. Now we've got Grimguard in the house. Let's see, the most refined palette can turn between the colors of the rainbow. I prefer the sweet taste of cadmium red deep. Well, as you know, pun expected, cadmium red makes it go faster. It makes it go faster. Yeah, it makes the end of life come much faster. Just that's the way the orcs like it. Oh, and folks, we are going to be we're gathering stuff for Orktober, so there will be some orcish things going on. Obviously 40k stuff, but guess what? We have a you-know-what ton of Lord of the Rings orcs to paint. And painting Lord of the Rings orcs in oils could be very interesting. Maybe we even do TMM in oils on the orcs. How does that sound? So yeah, we're already starting to try and think up things for Orktober. Now here I'm just going to build up around. That piece of tree bark there. And again, for the folks that are wondering what we're trying to do, see those little reference pictures down in the corner there? That is it's one of the cavalry units that we did. Based exactly the same way. The same stuff that you see going on here. Exactly the same. Here. Alright. We need to do the same on this guy. It's really different from doing the cavalry because I got one over here. Look at the size. So here, this is a whole different world right here. Doing this guy. Let me see. So how are you doing, Grimguard? Let's see. We had those in class. Call them ladybugs. Faux Moses because they are not the expensive Elmos. I've been going through withdrawals, not having you on a few days. So Grimguard, yeah, we were joking about it here, but Kathy definitely, and well, even Armored Wolf was like, this was almost like being at a ReaperCon as far as how much stuff I had to move around here and basically trying to recover. It was like we had actually been in Texas at a convention. Now that I think that kind of speaks to just how, well, either how crazy it was or how effective that was. Now look at this. We're going to have this go right up here. It's going to march right up to his foot because guess what? That I want to make sure that that foot is flush to the base. So we'll just pile this up here. Get a little bit more there. And now, see how that levels off his foot to the rest of the base? And now we've got ourselves a little bit of an open space there. We'll just fill that in with a little bit of our paste, just so there's something there. And we have another open spot here. Now, again, we're not trying to fill this up completely because we want to do some of our crackle stuff. We're going to throw some of this over here. Get a nice open base. We can do what we want. You can see we can make this a little bit higher here if we like. Let me see. October, yes. Your inevitable death will come faster if you munch on the cadmium. Well, the thing is, it's also going to cause you to gain a little weight because, well, it's heavy. October is a thing. We'll have to break out one of my big child orcs then. Well, yeah, actually, Kathy, she has a large-scale orc figure. I could swear I've got another big child create. Where's that orc bust that I did? That's sitting around here somewhere. Where did you go? But I think you remember that big orc bust that I did, wherever the heck that thing went. Yeah, that was I think I have maybe one more of those that I could do. So there's all of the bases there. Now we're gonna just set this off to the side. I'm gonna bring this back here. And we've got ourselves some mid-size rocks. So we're just going to throw a couple of mid-size rocks on here. And then a little bit of the finer stuff. And that's it. We're going to keep it nice and simple here. And just imagine this would probably be something like what we'd have for our orc bases. If we're doing the Lord of the Rings type stuff. So what I'm looking to do is just get some of this mid-range gravel here, a little bit of our finer stuff now. Here, let's get a little bit of our couple rocks on here too. Some finer stuff. This guy here, because this is the nice thing about the texture paste, is that it has a little bit of adhesion to it. Oh, hey, Wizarro, how are you doing? Let's see. Sorry, this has been asked. What is the peanut butter? Oh, that is right here. So that is earth texture. It's from Vallejo. There are many types of this. There's several that I like. This one is a nice universal one. There's a sandy one. There's a one that looks more like lava. There's another one that's a rougher texture. There's some that are snow. But that one, it's got the most universal properties to it. It's not quite such a specialized one as the other texture pastes. Oh, and now Wizarro, I don't know if you saw Monday's episode, but Monday we were using the heck out of that stuff. I could just let's see, where are you? Okay, here's a couple of more examples, I think. There it is, hiding. So now here, see how that the plastic base was extended out here. There really wasn't much I could do with it, but see how I covered it up in the same texture paste there? So that edge, now you don't see that. Here we used it again. So this was on last Monday's up. Not this Monday, but last Monday. So give this one, check that one out. I'm going to put these over here. We also made plenty of use of that on our diorama here. We made a lot of use of that texture paste. All right, what have we got here? Oh, let's see. I may get something in for Zomtober. Let's get couple of, again, just some of the finer stuff here. Not too much of the heavy. I also see it's almost like a desert. Actually, wait a minute. Wait, before we do too much with that here, let's just water this down. Now, here's something that you can do. You see how that starts to almost look a little bit like sand dunes right there? See how we put some striation in that? So you can also do that too. We did that with some of those Dothraki, some of the horsemen there. And we're just gonna scatter some in a few places here. So that takes care of our guys. Now we have to do this trait, because again, the texture paste is going to want to stick to something, not that tray, not that bare plastic. This comes back out again. And here I can't build this up too high because we have several instances where we have some of our tree bark basing that's hanging over. So let's not have that built up too high. We do want to mesh these tree bark pieces. So say we kind of build it up to the tree bark here. Build that up to the tree bark. Maybe even a little bit over the top, kind of represent maybe some windblown sand, something like that. Let's say this is September, so that means next month is Domtober. Let's see, I 3 printed in Arena. That's the perfect color. Yeah, it's and it's you can paint it and prime it, so it doesn't have to stay this color. You can easily paint it and prime it and do lots of fun stuff with it. It's fantastic because that was also a big part of what we did here, and that is all painted. You can either watch those on the YouTube channel or some of the past VODs. Here, we'll just keep painting here. Well, sort of painting. Now here you could say I built that up just a little bit. And here it gets a little bit, see, not quite so built up. Not quite so high. And I'm not really going to scatter too much in the way of rocks on this because I really don't want to end up with a figure that's now sitting on top of some rocks. So see, we just kind of had that go over the top of that little piece of tree bark right there. We're just building this up. And it really integrates everything nicely. It's just not really going to have that look of, or at least not the obvious look of a movement tray, where you have a bunch of separate guys. I mean, hopefully, I'm still wanting to try just use counters. I think we talked about this, like Nessie and Lord Dave. Just there's so many counters on units anyway. What's one more counter? It's just a wound counter instead of taking guys off here. So just multi-base it like it was Kings of War or something like that. Say the heck with it. Let me see. Oh, hey, Grey Wolf Studio. Let's see. This is the filet open. Oh, Zuxi, there's no smell or anything like it. It's very much a water-based product. See, it's just acrylic. There's no solvents or anything like that. It has no smell at all. Actually, I don't think any of them do. Maybe the Mica Flakes one does, but the Mica Flakes, that's one that you need to use really fast anyway because those Mica Flakes pretty much start drying as the minute you've opened the container. So that's why I haven't really used the Mica Flakes since. I loved them, but the container kept drying on me, so I just I kind of phased that one out. There was also other products that I don't want to say did well. Once I started having all the leaves, that was it too. the most common use for that Mica Flakes for me was actually deadfall leaves. Well, now that I have tons of that kind of stuff, I don't really need that product anymore. Okay. Now let's push this over into here. We're almost good to go here with our texture paste. So folks, this is typically something similar to what you would see in a episode 1 of a Patreon series. Now, something like this, well, I've already done other videos like this for the Patreon series, so people have seen this before. This is familiar, but I would definitely, I was trying to do something new with basing, or if it is the same kind of sculpey technique, there's a whole different design and it becomes part of the painting process. Just like the Dol Amroth ones, well, we were trying to combine some of these resin pieces. Okay, so that's going to come out. That goes away. Now, of course, this might be a little bit difficult to see because, well, it is brown after all. Let's see. Yeah, all the counters. Let's see. Can we make Nurglevember like Orktober? Okay, so Grey Wolf, I don't know, have you played, I don't know if you've played this or watched this game being played, or if you played old Warhammer back in the days. So what happens right here, now of course this is cavalry, each of these guys has 3 wounds. So when one of these guys gets 3 wounds, you're removing a figure. So a lot of times what you have something like this. You have a movement tray with one guy just sitting there, and it just kind of looks a little weird like that, but instead what you would do is these guys would not be on separate bases, but they would all be on here in one piece, which is actually how a lot of the historical wargaming is. So you would have multiple guys on this tray, and you would just put some counters on there, especially with something like this where there's 12 guys, and as Nessie knows, some of the Baratheons, as easy as the typical Song of Ice and Fire thing is to rank up, those are hideous. And trying to put all those guys back every 2 seconds. Also think ease of transport. So instead of having to magnetize 12 guys onto the tray, do all this other stuff, what if they're all stuck to the tray? So now it becomes more like this. Right? And actually you can watch this being painted on the YouTube channel, including all of the snow effects there. But think of it more like this. See how these are multi-based instead of these 3 guys all having their own separate bases and this having its own separate base? This is more an example of the multi-basing. Let's see. So the drying time on this is going to depend on how thick you make it. It could take just maybe a half an hour. It could take a few hours. It really, again, it's going to depend on how thick you make it. It's kind of like the water effects the same way. If you make that stuff super thick, well, it could take a couple of days to completely dry and set. All right, so I think that is settled. No, but pay attention to when I'm using the water over here. That's actually why I wanted the palette cam to be on that, because it's kind of important to see that. So yeah, there's not a whole bunch left of this, but you can see how kind of thick that is. Let me see if I've got something else that I can utilize here. Like this. Let's grab some more of this here. I guess I'm going to need some more of this. It's practically almost gone. And that's about what we're going to use. So this is, was this, Agrelian Earth. Now these red ones here, some of these things do the crackle stuff and some of them do not. There's, I think, one of these red ones that also does the crackle stuff. This has proven to be very disappointing because it has no texture properties or no adhesion properties whatsoever, and it does nothing. I mean, to me, this is just, I think that was the one that to me was just kind of a waste. I hated that one. Now let's get some crackle stuff here. Oh, also, we need some of this. Now that's going to be over here in the corner of this. And it's going to be, see that grayish color? So, see how much thinner that is? So I'm going to move this way so that you can see it. Can you see that now? I think you can. Oh, no problem, Grey Wolf. Let's see, those can actually draw blood if you're removing them all the time. Oh yeah, those crazy, those Baratheons. Alright, so what we're going to do here, see how thick that is? The thicker this is, the bigger the cracks are going to be. Well, guess where we're fixing to have larger cracks is like over here. Couple things you can do is you can just let it mix with this. That's why I put the texture paste down. So look at this. We can just mix the two of them together. See how those two are just mixing together like that? That means your cracks are just literally going to disappear into that sand. Disappears. There's another way you could do that. You could water it down a little bit. So here, let's just put some of this over here. We'll put a little blob there. We got water on the brush. Now we just water it down. That's another way. Or you take this stuff that is thinner. See how much thinner that? Look at it's how it's almost like water. These cracks are going to be very, very dainty. And I mean really dainty. So you can have thick cracks, smaller cracks, whatever kind of cracks you want. Because I see an awful lot of this where it's only the gigantic cracks and there's no variation whatsoever. So again, we're going to hit this with some of the thinner. That's the green stuff world version of it. See how much thinner that is. And again, you just let these mix together here. Let's also have some maybe even up on top of our bark here. Let's see. Okay. I think we're all caught up there. We're going to even throw a little bit of that texture paste up here. Over here. Or our crackle paste, sorry. Now, there are crackle mediums. Vallejo has one. Heck, you can just find at craft stores, you can find a crackle medium. You're never quite sure what you're going to get out of those. To me, these do a good job here. So there's again that gray. So we're changing up the texture here. It's going to be thicker in some places with larger cracks. Other areas, much smaller cracks. And you see, I'm just kind of scumbling this together so the crackle paint mixes with. It's going to mix with our earth paste or our earth texture from Vallejo. I can already see this thicker stuff here. It starts to set up. It doesn't necessarily start cracking sooner, but it does start to set up pretty quick. So you have to kind of work with it while it's wet. Yeah, we're going to mix in some of this to get a variation from heavy to lighter. Okay, now we'll do some of these guys here. And this is the fun part. We can actually kind of manipulate our tree bark texture now because we're putting some of the crackle paste on here. So now it's going to have more than just that bark texture. It's going to also have the crackle stuff going on, which is kind of cool. So we'll put some right by his feet there. Make that nice and heavy. We have guys like him. We'll just pop some of this crackle right in there. just going to thin that out. Let that blend in with what we have. So we're going to get a whole different line of texture all along there. And again, not every single one of these has to have monstrous mounds of crackle texture. Some maybe is just as good as a lot. Let me see. I think we're all caught up on the chat. Here's a good spot right over here. So there's just a whole lot of nothing we saved. We didn't put any rocks there. So there's that thicker paste. Now we get in here with the thinner stuff. Nice and thin. This one could be really fun to have. The crackle go right over the top of the bark and then continue on to the bark. These will be some super subtle crackle things going on here. I mean, very subtle. This one, not quite so much because that's our thick paste, but we're just going to let that mix. So we're not going to go so much with the gray. We are just going to let that literally blend with what's already there. It's another one of our more open bases. We'll do the same thing here. Let's get a little bit out on the back. Yeah, this is about as long. This is kind of, well, a typical basing video for the Army Painter Pledge is around 2 hours or so, and we're about an hour and 20 minutes in. And this is one of the simpler methods here. Some methods are a little bit more complicated. All right, I don't want to put any more of the heavy sterling out there. This is about the last of the heavy sterling that we've got. It's going to go here, and now we'll just do the rest with some of our thinner, more minimal gray. Again, that is from Green Stuff World. Hey, Sky King, how are you doing? Now you just watched the basing video for the Mountains Men. That's, I've got to, well, actually I've got to, well, fortunately, I don't know how fortunate it is, but it's already in the low 60s here. So I just put in an order for some more Sculpey because I'm gonna bake some more whatchamacallit, that lion texture, right? So we can do more of the Lannister style bases because, well, I want to redo my Lannister units. All the ones that I sadly had to sell off and left me with virtually no Lannisters whatsoever. All right, this one maybe we'll get just a touch right there. Tempted to just, yeah, I'll throw a little bit more over here too. So I know this just doesn't look like much of anything here. Believe me, that's all going to change. It will most definitely transfer. Let's see if I've got a couple other. I know I've showed you that one a bunch of times. So here's a different one. Now this we were using, and this one I think I did do a Patreon video on this. This is also a combination of cork and bark and then some of the plastic. Oh, we need some skulls on here. That's right. That's the last thing we need. But see that nice little tiny crackle stuff going on right there? That is, yeah. That's what I like about when you thin that down, you get a nice little thin crackle to it. All right, so this is going to go over here. Let's see what we can do for some skulls over here. Now somewhere, I still have a few things left filled with skulls. Let me see if I can find those here. Ah, there they are. We're not going to do any crazy stuff. We're just going to do regular, just a couple of little skulls. Pop them in here. Some of these are secret weapon skulls. Some of these are GW and green stuff world. But once again, we're back to our little sanding stick here. Going to use that for mold lines. I got myself some super glue here. Oh, what the heck? Let's just throw a skull onto there. Why not? Here's some of our secret weapon skulls. Let's see. Oh yeah, Sky King, we want to redo the... Well, as much of the Lannister... I don't know. I have... Obviously, well, I got the starter set stuff. I don't have the cavalry or like the crossbowmen. I'll have to somehow get those back. I have to get some of those. But what we want to do is do this here. It's going to take a little while to scroll down there, but I really want to try these guys again in oils. Whoops, not these. Well, actually, I am going to be doing some of them in oils as I add to them, but that wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking for this. I definitely want to do the Sky Earth in oils because this was the first Song of Ice and Fire series, wasn't it? Yeah, this was the very first Song of Ice and Fire series. So I really want to try those guys again in oils. I think that'll be an absolute blast. Let's see. TJ asks, ever create minis that can change weapons? Mostly in this game right here, and they just have the same weapons. They don't change those. If you mean convert them to something else, I have done definitely a lot of massive conversion. I think TJ, you've seen the Tomb King's army, where it was mostly scratch built slash. Yeah, I'm gonna get a skull facing backwards here. Or either scratch built or massively converted. I'm already starting to see some crackle things happen here too. Now, we certainly have to have a skull on the big boss here. So again, we're gonna take our sanding stick. We're gonna hit some of these mold lines here. Now these are resin skulls.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my gun, John.
Thank you so much, Wellibby, for the follow. The secret weapon ones are resin. The green stuff world ones are resin. Obviously, the GW ones are plastic. Here's another example. This is my favorite is actually the green stuff world ones because you don't just get human-sized skulls. You get these giant. I mean, look at this. You have so it's something that looks kind of like an ogre, and this one more like a giant skull. Look at how big that skull is there, and that's part of the green stuff world series. Actually, you can watch this one on the YouTube channel. Yeah, as long as it is not floor starks. Yeah, this one that was a lot of fun. That was when we were still able to do YouTube lives back in the day, before YouTube canceled everything and everyone. But I suppose it's all good because it led to the Twitch thing. Now over here, what the heck? We got this over here. Let's just put this skull right over here, like you do. Now we got ourselves a couple of GW ones. Couple of GW ones here. Now these are plastic. They definitely have their place. The demon ones can be a little bit hard to... Obviously, if you're doing something more chaosy, like maybe on the Corvus Cabal ones, we'll add a couple of more chaosy type skulls to those. Well, let's see. Yeah, Nessie, sadly, I don't have... All I've got are Mountains Men and... Well, I have Mountains Men, halberds. Oh, do I have any halberds? Yes, yeah, thanks. I think I still have a box of halberds. But I got no Knights of Castlery Rock, and no crossbowmen, and no pyros. So yeah, those all went away. But the stuff that I guess I'm really super far behind because the Baratheons apparently have a whole bunch of new stuff. the last new thing I did for the Baratheons was starter box stuff, and some of those. Oh, what was it? The new boxes of NCUs and heroes. That the 2 heroes. That's all I've done outside of the Baratheon starter box. That's it. So look at the nice little touch right there. That little extra skull. So Willie, how you doing? We're doing some little bit of basing here because, well, this has to be done anyways. Because these will be joining all of the rest of the Targaryens heading off to Idaho. Alright, one last little skull there, and I don't think we want to do too many skulls. Well, yeah, that's good enough. And let's do one more. I do have a new box of skulls. I was trying to conserve them at one point. Now I just remembered I have a box of skulls, so let's just throw these out here. And I'm not going to put that right where all the crackle stuff is. I'm going to throw that over here. Alright, let's just start to place some of these guys into the tray. See if they all fit here, if we had to make any crazy little adjustments. I think he's gonna, yep, he's gonna fit right in there. He fits right in there. See, now this is why we didn't put too much in the way of skulls in these in-betweeners, because you never know when something's gonna be hanging over in the way. And you got these guys, they're kind of pointed in different directions. Oh, I can already start this. I can see crackle stuff happen right over there. I can already see the crackle stuff starting to happen. So see how he's kind of looking off to the side this way? He's looking off this way. So each of these guys is kind of either looking in a slightly different direction. I think we're good there. Got this guy here. One last. So there you go. There's a nice little unit for you. Plus our extra guy, we're gonna give him a couple of skulls too, just because. I mean, why not? Skulls are fun. Everybody loves skulls. You can never have too many. Maybe we even combine some secret weapon ones with some GW ones here. Oh, thanks, Sky King. Let's see, got off work, handling a grant, and relaxing, watching, and hearing your hobby time. Well, thanks for joining us, Walibi. This is, some people just say that I have unhealthy obsessions with object source lighting, with freehand, and basing. They say that they are, I think they are totally healthy. I think they're fantastic. But I just really enjoy the heck out of the basing because, well, here, something like that really tells you a story. It's the same old miniature. I've done this one at least 3-4 times, but having it with the marble here, and, well, again, just very simple stuff. Just some Sculpey, some bulletin board cork. Last Monday, we were basing that. Here's another one right here. This is the one we did with our water effects. And it really does tell you a nice little story. And now all that stuff is nice and clear. Look at all this. Nice and clear. We've got ourselves, oh, this guy over here. You know, our winter griffin. And we did the entire process. We did the base yellow icicles right there. Look at our icicle over there. They're nice and solid. Everything's good. We have this one with our vellum foliage too, looking really nifty. We've got our lady with the splashes. We've also got this one over here. So we kind of did that UV water down here to get it dry nice and fast. We matched the foliage to what was on the figure itself. We tried all different kinds of stuff. Well, look at this one here. So we did this one on Monday. Also, those little bottles from Green Stuff World and the Sculpey, right? We carved the wood planks there. Gives her a whole different look. Where's my... Ah, do I have... Yes, I have 2 skulls here. And I'm just going to pop a couple of these right over here. Get you facing the right way. And you right next to it. So it's nice to have sometimes give the skull a little bit of a buddy there. Now I think, oh, I do have a little bit of crackle paste left. And I just want to use what's left of that. So I've got just a touch of this left over here. I realized this should be filled in. So we're going to fill that in a little bit here. And then I'll just mix in what's left of the gray over there. I noticed a couple little gaps in this. So I'll just fill those in. No problem. There you go. Yeah, I might even... Alright, I'm just going to mix the 2 of them together here. And I'll throw a little bit of this here. So that takes care of yet another one of our... That's all 13 of those guys. Anyhow, when they start out, it's something like this. When it eventually becomes something like that. Yeah, okay, whatever, you paint that. But look at what this does. This literally looks like he's in motion on something.